Hello and welcome back to the Your Best Yoga YouTube channel, where the only expectation is that you do your best, whatever that looks like today. Today I'm back with a beginner-friendly practice focusing on opening the shoulders. Yes, those shoulders where we often hold a lot of tension, stress, and tightness. We're focusing on poses today that is hopefully going to alleviate some of that tension. So we are doing a beginner practice today as opposed to a flow practice. And the difference is we're going to be spending a bit more time on the alignment in the poses. We're going to break the poses down a little bit more and spend some time in each pose so you can really feel the effects in the body. We're also using a variety of props in our beginner practice today to assist us in the poses. So we're going to need a chair. You're going to need a yoga strap, or as always, if you don't have one, just find something around the house that'll work instead. It's probably a good idea to have 1 or 2 yoga blocks if you happen to have them around the house. And I'm going to have a blanket, of course, for under my knees because we are going to be on hands and knees for a couple of poses. Otherwise, make sure you have some space, and let's get started. We're going to begin this practice in a seated position, so find a comfortable seated position that works for you. You don't have to sit cross-legged like I am if that doesn't feel comfortable, and if sitting on the floor gives you a lot of tension in your low back, then sitting up onto a yoga block might alleviate some of that tension, just lifting up the hips and pelvis and providing a little bit more space there. So once you're seated comfortably, you can close your eyes or soften your gaze toward the floor as we take a moment to settle into our bodies, bringing our awareness inward. Just taking this time to really notice how your body is feeling today. You might take a moment to focus in on that shoulder area and just notice what's going on there this morning, or it's morning for me, it might not be morning for you. Notice what's going on in those shoulders. Just do what you can to let them relax and release down away from the ears. Bringing the focus to your breath, and for a few moments just feel your body breathe. You might notice that the breath has started to slow down or deepen simply by observing it. Let's take one more breath here. And then blinking the eyes open. Let's start by rolling our shoulders backwards. Just noticing how the body's responding, what sensations show up. Roll the shoulders forwards. Let's slide our fingers together, bringing that right pinky finger to the bottom of your grip. Pressing your palms forward. Pause here. Notice what's happening in the shoulders. Roll them back and down. So the shoulder blades are sliding down your back body. As you inhale, press those palms up toward the ceiling, but keep those shoulder blades moving down the back. here. As you exhale, we're taking our right hand to the floor. Left arm is going to reach up and over. So your left palm is toward the floor. Your left fingers are stretching actively. And you want to root down through that left sitting bone so that you get a big stretch through the left side. Keep breathing. Inhale to come up to center. As you exhale, we're twisting toward the right. So keeping the spine tall here, keep the shoulders down, bringing the right fingertips to the floor, making sure that you're not leaning back into your twist, keeping the crown of the head in line with the tailbone. Let's take one more breath here. And then inhale back to center. Repeating on the other side, slide the fingers together, left baby finger on the bottom. Press the palms forward, shoulders are rolled back. Inhale to sweep those arms up. Shoulder blades moving down the back. Breathe. With an exhale, left hand finds the floor, right arm stretches up and over. Inhale to come up to center and exhale to twist to the left. Inhale to center. Reaching for your yoga strap. We're going to start with just a bit of a shoulder opening exercise here. You want to hold your yoga strap so that it's nice and tight. You don't want it to be loose at all. And have your hands a wide distance apart, starting with the belt in front of your belly there. From here, you're going to take your arms all the way up, keeping those elbows straight so the belt is above your head. And then without bending your elbows or letting that belt get loose, you're going to take the arms all the way behind you. So you might need to adjust the placement of the hands. If you don't feel any sensation, your hands might be too wide apart. If it's too difficult for you to do this and you have to bend the elbows, then you want to take your hands wider apart. So just finding that place where you feel the sensation, you get those stretches through the shoulders as you take the belt forward and back. A few more times. We'll make this our last one, finishing with the belt in front of the belly again. And then you can let that go, shake it off a little bit. And slide that belt, throw it over the right shoulder. Sitting nice and tall here, stretching the right arm straight up to the ceiling and bending the right elbow so that the right elbow is pointing up toward the sky. Now I want you to notice if this right arm is pushing your head forward. We don't want that. So see if you can bring the right arm back a little bit. You can take that left hand all the way to the top of the elbow to help with that stretch. And breathe. Now, that belt that's over the right shoulder, you should be able to reach it with that right hand, holding on to the belt. You're going to sweep your left arm all the way behind you, reaching up for that belt as well. So you want to maybe eventually one day reach those fingers to touch together, but until that day comes, that's what we're using the belt for. So the hands should be as close together as possible, The fingers, if they do touch, you can just interlace the fingers together. However, if not, then use your belt as an extension of the arms. Keep that right elbow up toward the ceiling, left elbow down toward the floor, and try not to let the front body push forward, so we don't want to arch the spine. And breathe. Exhale to release. Take a moment, feel the shoulders and that sensation, and then take the belt over to the left side. Left arm starts by stretching up, elbow bends. We're going to hold on to that elbow for a couple of breaths. And then grasping the belt with the left hand, bringing the right arm all the way back and around, maybe reaching the fingers close together, or just reaching for the belt with the right hand. You might notice that one side is a lot different, so you might have been able to get the hands closer on one side than the other. As you exhale, release, and our belt can move off to the side. We're going to come up onto our hands and knees next, and I want you to make sure you have your chair in front of you, so the chair is on your head side, because we will be moving to use the chair right away. So, coming onto your tabletop, hands and knees. Blanket under the knees, of course, if you'd like. Knees stacked under the hips and wrists come underneath your shoulders, turning those creases of the elbows to face one another. I just feel like I need to pull my pants up when I come into tabletop. All right, guys, so starting with a neutral spine, we're coming into cat and cow. So deep inhale through the nose. Exhale to round the spine. Press that back up toward the ceiling, tailbone lengthens, and gaze shifts toward the thighs. As you inhale, you're arching the back. Reach the hips up, lift your collarbones up, look up. Moving with your breath at your pace here. So exhaling to round into cat. Inhaling to arch into cow. Couple more times. And then bring your spine back to a neutral position. From here, we're going to come into a thread the needle for the upper body. So it's a little bit of a twist and a shoulder stretch. You're going to bring your left hand, tuck it underneath your right arm, sliding that left hand away from you, finding the twist as you bring your left shoulder and your left ear down to the floor. Keeping those hips lifted up in the sky. Right hand is just there for your support on the floor. Taking a couple breaths. Inhale, press into your right hand to bring yourself back up to your tabletop. Other side. Right arm comes underneath your left. Right shoulder and ear come down to the floor. Now, if the floor is a little far away from you today, you can always slide a block under the head in this pose as well. Inhale to come back up to tabletop. From here, take the knees wider apart, slide your toes to touch together, sitting back to the heels for child's pose. Belly sinks toward the floor in between those thighs. Arms stretch all the way forward, and your forehead can come either down to the floor or, if it doesn't reach, onto a block. With an inhale, lift up enough so that you can walk your hands all the way over toward the right side, taking a side stretch here. So once you walk those hands over, folding forward and reaching extra. Let's bring some extra reach through that left arm, left finger, and back through the left hip bone, left sitting bone. So you really feel that stretch all the way through the left side. Inhale to lift up. Walk those hands back through center, over to the left side, and fold. Inhale, bring those hands back to center. We're going to come up to use the chair next. So you're going to bring your blanket with you if you're using one under the knees. So we're going to stay on our knees for this first shoulder stretch. Now this is a great shoulder stretch. It can be a little tricky to get into, and hopefully the height of the chair you're using isn't too high, because that will make this one a little bit more difficult. So we're going to come to kneel in front of the chair, and you're going to bring your elbows and a bit of your forearms down onto your chair seat. Now you want to bring your elbows in line with your shoulders, so they're not too close together, not too far apart. So elbow and shoulder are in line. And I'm going to bring my hands into a prayer position here. From there, you can bring your knees, walk them back a little bit until your hips are stretching back, so your spine is elongated. Now my forehead just sort of rests onto the edge of the chair, but depending on the height of your chair or where your elbows are, you might be able to let your head come just in between the arms. And then I'm just going to feel that stretch as I keep elongating through the spine. So my tailbone is reaching back, hips are reaching back. You can either keep the fingertips straight up toward the sky, or let the thumbs come toward the back of the neck. Make sure you're not arching through the back. So you don't want the belly to collapse through toward the floor here. You want to keep the belly hugging toward the spine, so the spine is long. Let's take one more breath here. And then walk your knees, inch them in a little bit, and bring your hands onto your chair seat. Now you want to make sure that at least 2 of your chair legs are on your mat, as we're going to lift up into a chair downward dog from here. So having the hands either on the top of the chair seat or just gripping the sides of the chair. You can curl your toes under, lift yourself up. You might need to walk the feet back a little bit, really stretch back through the hips, and breathe here. As you inhale, slowly start to walk your feet forward toward the chair, and slowly roll yourself all the way up to standing. Excellent. You can clear the blanket off of your mat if it's still there. And you're going to turn your chair so that the back of the chair is now facing you. We're going to come into Parshvottanasana, which is a great standing leg stretch. We're also going to be working in to those shoulders here. So you want to stand, I would say, about a foot or so away from the back of your chair. You're going to keep your right foot forward and take a big step back with your left foot. Now your back leg is going to be on an angle so that your 2 hip bones can point forward toward the back of the chair. You want to make sure those 2 hip bones both point straight ahead like headlights. We're keeping our legs straight in this stretch, so you're going to root down through your back heel, not let it lift up. Take your hands onto your hips and roll your shoulders back. Feel your spine lengthen, reach up a little through the crown of your head. Now as you exhale, you're going to start to fold, moving from those hips. We want the hips to move nice and even, so I want you to think of bringing your left hip bone forward and your right hip bone back. That's going to keep the back body nice and straight and flat. Once you've folded, you're going to stretch your arms forward. Now on my chair distancing, I can rest the forearms onto the chair a little bit, and I want to really reach forward through my fingers and reach back through my hips. Now this is going to bring a lot of stretch in through the legs, but I can also feel my shoulders, the sides of my body, and my upper back even getting a nice stretch here. Breathing into your Parsvottanasana. Make sure you're keeping your legs straight. And then we're going to bend our front knee or right knee. Start to walk your feet forward, coming up to stand. Let's repeat that on the other side. Left foot is forward, right foot takes that big step back. Plant your back heel, but make sure your two hip bones can come forward. So my back toes are pointing more toward the front of my mat than out to the side. Hands come to the hips, shoulders roll back. Think of lifting your chest. As you exhale, start to fold. This time we're thinking of bringing our right hip bone forward, our left hip bone back. Stretching those arms forward. Lengthening forward through the fingers, the arms, back through the hips, feeling the sides of the body lengthen. The shoulders, the upper back get that stretch, as do the legs. Head is resting between the arms. Don't let it fall to compromise the neck. Keep breathing. As you exhale, bend your front knee, walk your back foot in, and come to stand. Great. All right. Chair can move out of the way. You might want your yoga blocks for our next pose. We're going to work with triangle pose, but we're going to add an extra shoulder opener in. If you'd like to use your block or your blocks, plural, you're going to start with the block behind the right foot. Now that's going to be for your hand to reach down to. So if that's not going to be high enough, you can also always stack one block on its lowest height, one block on its highest height to lift the blocks up a little bit higher. I'll keep mine like that just so you can see how I'm using the block today. Now take your big wide step with your right toes pointing toward the short edge at the front of your mat. Your two heels lined up. For triangle pose, once again, we keep our legs straight, so we're getting that good stretch. Inhale to take the arms out wide at the shoulders, reaching the fingers away from one another. Relax the shoulders. As you exhale, you're going to reach forward a little, moving from those hips. Keep the legs straight. And then take the right hand down, maybe finding the blocks, or maybe just resting it on your shin, whatever works for you today. Right hand is down, left arm is straight up to the sky. Two shoulders stacked, one on top of the other. Now for our extra arm shoulder work today, you're going to take that arm, bringing the back of your left hand all the way to your back body, or if you have long arms like me, you might be able to bring it all the way down toward the top of your right thigh. You're going to roll your right shoulder, oops, that's your left shoulder, your left shoulder up and back so that your two shoulders are stacked, your chest is nice and open, and that left shoulder blade is moving toward your tailbone. You might be able to turn the gaze up toward the ceiling. If that's not okay in the neck, keep the eyes forward or down. And breathe. Untangle that back arm. As you inhale, come all the way up. Turn your right foot forward. You'll have to move your blocks behind your left foot. And let's do the other side. So now the blocks are behind your left heel, your left toes turn out, heels are lined up, legs are straight. Inhale to extend the arms. Exhale to side bend, legs stay straight. Bringing the left hand down to the blocks, right arm lifts up. And then bringing that right hand behind you, rolling the right shoulder up and back. Chest is open, collarbones are nice and broad. Eyes can either look up toward the ceiling, forward, or down. Whatever feels better for your neck. One more breath here. And then untangle the arm. Lift yourself all the way back up. Turn your left toes forward. Step your feet together and pause, taking a breath. We can move our blocks off of the mat as we are all done with those. We're going to make our way down toward the floor next. So, coming to stand at the front of your mat in mountain pose, Tadasana. Taking a deep inhale, sweep those arms up. Exhale to fold forward. Inhale to slide those hands up. Let's take a half forward fold. Lengthen the spine, lift the chest, look forward. As you exhale, bend your knees, plant your hands, and walk back to a downward facing dog. Taking a couple of breaths here. And then exhale, lower the knees. Take the knees wide, toes together. Sit back into a child's pose. From your child's pose, lifting yourself all the way up, we're going to come into one more shoulder opener called Pinch a Dog, which is basically a downward dog on your elbows. You want to bring one of your yoga blocks with you. We're going to use that mostly for spacing because it's important in your pinch dog that you keep your wrists, elbows, and shoulders all in one line. And I'll show you why in just a second. So you're going to make an L shape with your hands, and the thumb and the pointer finger are going to come around your block on both sides. From here, come up onto hands and knees, and bend the elbows, bringing the elbows down to the floor. Now take a moment to make sure your wrists and your elbows line up and that your elbows are underneath your shoulders. So what happens if your elbows come too far out is you lose your strength and stability to lift into this pose. So that's why it's important to keep your elbows underneath your shoulders. Some people really struggle with this, and if that's the case, you can make a loop with your belt just wide enough so that your belt will go around the upper arms, so just above the elbows, and you'll make your loop so that you cannot take your arms wider than your shoulders. That does give some people a little bit of extra stability in this pose. So if you'd like to try that, you can always pause the video, make that loop with your belt, and put it around your arms. Otherwise, press your hands down, your fingers down, and that spot in your palm between the thumb and the pointer finger down into the floor. Press even your wrists into the mat, the forearms, and the elbows. Walk your knees back a little bit, and make sure your feet and your knees are hip distance apart. From here, you're going to curl your toes. Start to stretch your hips up toward the ceiling. Start to press your thigh bones up and back. Press your heels down toward the floor, bringing the bottom of your rib cage toward the top of your thighs as those shoulders stretch back. So you don't want to keep the elbows and the shoulders in line here. You want the shoulders to press back more toward the legs as the hips are stretching up toward the ceiling. Let's take a couple more breaths here. And then exhale, bend the knees, take them down to the mat, and come all the way up to sit. You can roll the shoulders, shake them out a couple of times. From here, we're going to move on to our back, come into our twist, and then Shavasana. So if you'd like, placing a blanket under your head, getting ready to relax. Laying down with the knees bent and the feet on the floor. Just pausing for a moment, allowing the body to rest, noticing how everything is feeling. And then let's hug our knees in toward the belly. A little rocking and rolling might feel good. And then those arms can stretch out wide on the floor, like the letter T, palms up toward the ceiling. Letting our knees drop to the left side. If they don't reach the floor on their own, you can slide your block underneath them. Just softening through the spine, keeping the shoulders rooted down. And just breathe. Inhale to bring the knees up to center and exhale them over to the other side. Again, you can support the knees with a block if you'd like, or let them come all the way down to the floor. Inhale back up to center, finding your Shavasana. So you can keep your knees bent, you can stretch them out on the floor, let the arms rest beside you, close your eyes. It's time for you to just rest. I'm going to end the video here, but please stay in your Shavasana as long as makes you happy or until somebody needs something from you. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Leave me a comment if you'd like, and subscribe to the channel so you know when new videos come out. Thank you so much. Namaste.